Good morning. I'm Teddy Hicks, and I'm talking today with my friend Tamsin Young, who lives in Australia and is a money coach. Tamsin, I think, primarily works with female entrepreneurs to create a sustainable business where they can hold on to their money and kind of gets to the bottom of their energetic and emotional issues around money. And Tamsin uses tapping in her business, which is the reason I wanted to talk to her today, because, I'm always talking about tapping, and that's really like a big part of my coaching program also. And I've worked with Tamsin one-on-one as she was my coach back in the beginning of my money journey, which I'm sure was not a fun job for her at all, because I have a lot of stuff around money that's been a big issue for me. So I invited her to chat with me today about her business and how tapping works to help her get to the bottom of women's fears and blocks around money. And so welcome, Tamsin. Thank you for being here today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Teddy. It's wonderful to be here.
Good. So can you just tell me a little bit about like what you do? I know when we think about money, like obviously I think a lot of people focus on like numbers and budgeting and all that kind of stuff. But I think in your business, you really go like several levels deeper than that and work on like the energetic and emotional stuff around money for women. So can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I do work on both sides. So the inner and the outer work for changing your money story and your relationship with money. Mm-hmm. But the big focus is on the energetic side, on the emotional, the mindset side of things, because if you don't deal with that, then the practical side isn't going to be sorted. But you also can't just do the energetic side. You need to take practical action as well, because it's all very well feeling better about it, but if you actually don't do something practically at the end of the day, you may want to create savings. If you don't go and open up a savings account or understand what's happening in your business from a financial point of view, you're not going to make progress. And you can have people to help you, and I strongly recommend you do, having an accountant, having a bookkeeper, but that doesn't mean that you can't have some kind of a grasp on what the numbers mean to you. So it's taking that fear of, oh, what are all these numbers? It's too much for me to understand or comprehend or whatever. I'm a creative, I'm an intuitive, I'm not very good with numbers, all those stories that we tell ourselves as well. So it's to help you feel a lot better about dealing with your money and your finances and looking at anything money related, because we want to just put it out the back there and go, oh, somebody else can deal with that.
Right.
So it's taking responsibility for how you feel about it and for looking after it, being a good custodian of your money. That's what I really want people to do and move forward and feel proud of who they are and their money story and being wealthy. That there's nothing to feel guilty or shameful about creating wealth through a business that you love.
Yeah. And I love that you incorporate both of those aspects of it into your work, the practical action and like the energetic and emotional stuff, because from my experience, it's super easy to get stuck on one side or the other side. It's like so easy to just get stuck on the numbers and adding things up and trying to make it work, or do the mindset work and the energetic work and kind of just not take any action, and so it's so helpful. You're always encouraging, I know, both sides of that.
Yeah, I talk about it being the yin and the yang. Mm-hmm. So the yin to me is the emotional, energetic mindset work that we do, the inner work, and the yang side is the masculine. It's the actual number crunching and looking at the things. But even that you can still look at in a very feminine way of how are these numbers supporting me? And people get really scared about their numbers because I think it's an indication of whether they're good or bad or how they're doing. But they're just a tool. They're just giving you feedback. They're telling you a story. So, utilize that tool. It's not there to beat you up.
Right, exactly. So I know I've had a private tapping session with you about money stuff, because I do feel like several times along the journey I've run up against this kind of unconscious about money. Like, I don't know I don't know why I can't make more money. I don't know why I have so many issues about it. So I had a private tapping session with you one time, and I remember it was just extremely profound. You gently talked me through some issues around money, just like what was coming up for me while we were tapping. And I remember being like, oh my God, like all of this, it was like totally stuff I would never have related to money, like my relationships with my siblings when I was young and feeling stupid and, being the youngest and just like all of this crap. So do you use tapping a lot, and how do you find that helps women in their relationships with money?
I found tapping to be a very simple but effective tool. It's something that I can work with somebody in a session, and it's also something that people can take with them and practice at home. So there's benefits of doing daily tapping in your own life and just dealing with those little niggly things. It's like having a bath every day. You just get those top layers of the dust off you. And then working with someone, you're getting that, one, you're getting somebody that's objective, so they're not going to let you go away somewhere else and go, oh, I don't want to look at that. We'll go bring you back to what is coming up and helping you work through that and help you go deeper into it. So it's one of those things that I like to hear what the person's story is. I like them to have the realizations. Yes, I get intuitive information while we're working with it, and I may make comments and I may say things either while you're sharing your story with me or while we're doing the tapping. But I'm not here to tell you what's wrong with you. I'm not here to say, oh, I'm going to read you and say, oh, you've got a weakness here, you've got a weakness there. Oh, this is your biggest fear. When you have that light bulb moment yourself, that's when you really have that aha, and that's when you can take something away from it and go, okay, what do I want to do with this? Because again, it's one thing to have that realization in the session. Right. What are you going to do with it afterwards? How are you going to change? Right. Because yes, tapping is a pattern interrupter. So we develop these ways of behavior based on experiences that we've had in the past. Right. So, you had experiences when you were younger with your siblings, with whoever, whatever, whether it's money related, whether it's whatever it's related to, and your body has created an emotional attachment to that experience. So when something similar comes up, you react in a certain way. Money comes in and you go, oh my God, I'm not good enough to keep that money. And you will find some way, consciously, subconsciously, getting a speeding fine, the machine blowing up and you have to go and buy a new washing machine, or, whatever. All those little ways that we have are those unexpected expenses that come and take all that extra money that we were so proud that we had earned, just goes out the window. And you go, what is it? What is wrong with me? Why does everybody else create the wealth? What's wrong with me? You discover these stories and you go, oh, okay. So what we're doing with the tapping is we're working on the meridian system, and it's just gentle tapping on your body, on various parts in your body. And it's a pattern interrupter to release that emotional attachment to that story. We're not going to change what happened to you in your past. We cannot change the actual event, but what we can do is change your emotional attachment to it, that you can look at it and not be impacted by it and go, oh my God, you break out into a sweat every time you look at your bank account, or you get money and go, oh no, I can't possibly earn this much money. Whatever it is, whatever your reaction is, we change that so that you can move forward and take different actions.
Yeah, I always describe it as kind of tapping is a good way to let stuff bubble to the surface and then also let it go. You don't. Yeah. So many people, and I'm sure you have this with your clients too, just they identify something that's wrong, like a limiting belief. And then it's like they feel like they just have to kind of hold it and, cradle it. Yeah. And I love tapping is just a way that you can really access that belief, that painful thing, whatever it is, and then also process it, let it go at the same time, And I tell my clients all the time, I'm amazed that while I'm tapping, I think I'm sitting down to start tapping on a certain issue. And it's all of this other stuff comes up and I'm like, holy crap, I never would have let that all come to the surface, if I hadn't been tapping. So,
and one of the things that I do when I'm talking to the person in the beginning is I will say, okay, just close your eyes and imagine intuitively what age were you when this happened, and whatever age comes up, what is the story that's coming up for you? And as you said, you come and you tell me this is the problem, this is what we want to talk on. And the story that comes up for you seems like the most innocuous thing. It seems like such a silly thing. And you think, what has that got to do with my current situation? And we go into it, we start tapping. And I do tapping a bit differently to what you'll see a lot on YouTube, where they use what I call the echo method, where the practitioner will say something and then the client will repeat it. I encourage people to close their eyes, to really move into their body, because it's It's that energetic sense. It's that feeling in your body. What are you feeling? Where are you feeling it? And if you're going to be focusing on what I'm saying so that you can repeat it, you're going to stay here up in your head.
Right.
When you allow yourself to close your eyes, you're blocking out all the distractions that are around you, and you're allowing yourself to go within, and you start feeling, right, where is that resistance in my body? Oh, it's in my throat. Oh, I feel this constriction. And we tap on that constriction in your throat. Oh, it's moving down to my stomach. And whether I'm talking about that or not, you're following it. You're following it to see where it goes. No attachment to it, just that awareness, just that acknowledgement. Ah, look where it's going. That's interesting. And these thoughts will come up as you're doing it. And the idea isn't to grab those thoughts. Oh, yes, I remember that time. Oh, and immerse yourself in the whole story.
Right.
It's to be the observer. It's to be the person sitting on a riverbank, watching logs float down the river, and
Right.
just watching them, looking at them, going, oh, yeah, look at that. Oh, yeah. You can name them, and you can just let them go. And as you said, it's that bubbling up within you.
Yeah.
It's those emotions, it's those stories. And I talk about releasing, letting it go, let it bubble up, let it move through your body. You can feel it moving, and you allow that to happen. You don't try and stop it. You don't try and make it go either.
Yeah.
So you know, it's just being aware, being present, and allowing and being an observer.
Yeah. I love that technique you use about not necessarily making the person parrot the words back to you, because I've found that too with my clients. It's like they stay in their head then, you know, and it's like a lot of practitioners teach that you need to have this script, right? Like you need to say these words while you're tapping and follow this. And that can be helpful, I guess, getting started if you really don't know how to do it. But I really find it prevents you from really getting into your body and letting the emotions really come up, you know, if you're thinking about what you need to say next, you know. So I even encourage people sometimes just to if they're just upset and don't have words, like can't even articulate what it is, just tap silently, you know, don't even think anything. Yeah.
There's a couple of ways that I encourage people to tap. Obviously, if you can delve into those emotions, that's good. You don't always have to. As I say, I encourage people to tap in the morning and the evening, and it can just be, how am I feeling? What am I thinking? It doesn't have to, every time doesn't have to be this great emotional release.
Right.
It can just, as I said, just like that light bath, you're just fluffing off that dust that you've got. But as you've just said, just if you're so emotional and you can't think what to say, just tap those points. You can tap one point. It doesn't even have to, oh my God, am I tapping all the right points? Am I tapping in order? It doesn't matter. Find one point and just allow yourself to cry, to scream, whatever it is, whatever you're feeling, allow that to come out. And you'll just find with that tapping, it's that pattern interrupter, and it allows your body to calm down. Yeah. It's allowing all those hormones that have been released, all that adrenaline that puts you into that fight or flight state, that stops your rational brain from being able to think of what do I need to do. It just goes, oh, okay, let's just calm down. And that, you know, it allows you to do that. And another really good way, because one of the big fears that people have is, what do I say? You know, I've got to get this right. When they're doing it on their own, nobody's hearing what they're saying, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. And yes, there are formulas out there, and I'm not saying that they don't work. Absolutely, they work for people. Find what works for you. Right. The thing that works is you doing the tapping.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But another really good way is if you journal whatever you're thinking, you just write it all down, and then you read that back while you're tapping. Yeah. Then you don't have to think about what to say, because you've already got all that out of you, and you're just repeating it to yourself, or you're reading it, whatever, and you can just tap on the various points while you're going through it. So it helps you to have that pattern interrupter again by doing that tapping while you're reading what you're doing.
Yeah, I actually do that sometimes in the morning. I'll sit down, just journal out all this crap, you know, that's in my head, and then I'll start tapping, and I'll just glance down at my journal while I'm tapping, you know, and oh yeah, that, you know, that thing, and just like.
Yeah, and what sometimes happens with that is you journal, you follow that, and as you're doing it, something comes to your mind as you're tapping, and that you just follow the path, whatever comes up for you, whether you jump from here to there or whatever, it doesn't matter. Just go with the flow. Trust that what is coming up is what needs to come up.
Right.
And that's what I do in sessions. You come with an intention, this is what we're going to work on, and something else comes up and you go, oh, it's not really what I wanted, you know.
Right.
But it just releases everything and opens everything else up, and you go, oh, wow, okay, maybe that was what I needed.
Yeah, I didn't even know I needed that today. Yes, absolutely. And I also love, I think this is something I think people resist tapping a lot because it feels weird. It's like this, you know, you don't really understand it. And I think this perfectionism, you know, oh God, what are the points and what order? And I'm always, my disclaimer before every video that I record is don't overthink this, you know, just do whatever. If you skip a point, if you want to stay on the same point, it doesn't matter at all. And it doesn't all have to be like this head work. You know, I think everybody's just so in their head. And when you can focus on the body, what amazes me is how different my body feels after a tapping session. You know, it's like, it's an emotional release. And obviously you feel like, you know, mentally relieved, but my body, I like will literally sit there for a couple minutes afterward and just be like buzzing. You know, I can just feel this. It's a total shift in your physiology. Do you find that too?
Absolutely. And I think I've yet to have a client who, after we've had a session, hasn't gone, oh, I just feel so relaxed. I feel so calm. I feel so peaceful. And you go, oh, well, my work here is done, kind of a thing. But that's also why it's so important to do your own tapping at home.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it doesn't have to be these big, massive sessions. It doesn't have to be, oh, I've got to sit down for an hour. I don't have an hour. Literally 5 minutes in the morning and the evening. Mm-hmm. How do you want your day to go? What are you worried about of what's coming up in your day? Oh, you know, I had that. And when you do it in the evening, when you talk about what's happened during your day, you can get rid of all those niggly things, because that then means you sleep better, because you don't have to process that stuff while you're sleeping.
Right.
That means you wake up feeling better. So it's just, I liken it to a ball of wool. Mm-hmm. And your morning and evening tapping sessions are just pulling out little threads that they seem so ineffective. But every day you're just pulling out a little bit of strand here, there. And after a month or 2 or 3 months, the ball of wool is gone, and you go, oh, yeah. I used to get really annoyed with things like that, whether it's what your husband did or your children did or whatever, it doesn't really matter. And now it doesn't worry me anymore. And you go, wow, what happened? And all it is that tapping stuff, because you can only tap on things for so long before something actually happens and moves. Sometimes it might be 2 months, it might be 2 years for some things. You might have a real clinging on to it. And then suddenly it'll just be gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's something I really want people to understand too, is that it doesn't have to be this enormous, like you said, like this hour-long emotional eruption with all this stuff. Like this is work that you can do every single day in little tiny bits, and it can just be comfortable and easy. Even you can use it, you know, throughout your day. If you're about to go into a stressful meeting or you have an appointment, you know, that you're dreading, just like tap for a few minutes. It just helps this constant improvement in your energy throughout your whole life.
Absolutely. Before a situation that you're worried about, a phone call, you're in traffic and you're getting anxious because you're in a traffic jam and you're going to be late for your appointment, you just start tapping about how you're feeling, why you're feeling so anxious, all the things that are coming up for you. And yes, it's got to be a better way of acting than shouting at the car in front of you who can't move any faster because they're also in the traffic jam. So it just helps calm you down, and when you're in that state, everything just goes with so much more ease and flow.
Yeah. And I also find the more you do it, the easier it is to get, and it's like your body immediately starts responding to it. You know, in the beginning it can feel awkward and you're like, I don't really, you know, this doesn't really have an effect on me. But the more I do it, and now it's been like several years since I've been doing it, it's like as soon as I start tapping, I'm like, wow, you know, it's like my body just understands what's happening, you know? Yeah.
There's one guy that I've done some courses with. He's based here in Perth, and he recommends tapping virtually the whole day, as much tapping as you can get done. And he's talking about just you know, on your fingertips.
Yeah.
He taps like this. Can't work out which way to go. Like that, or squeezing your finger. I like squeezing my fingertips like this. Which you can do. You can have your hands under a desk if you're sitting at a meeting. You can do that easily. You can be going for a walk. You can squeeze your fingertips like this.
Yeah,
so you don't have to be walking down the street going like this and people going, you know, what is wrong with her kind of thing. Yeah. So it can be very discreet. You can rub points as well. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm tapping away. Look at me, I'm tapping kind of thing. You can be very discreet with it.
Yeah, you can use it really literally in every situation. I
Yeah.
discovered that kind of by accident while I was walking one day. I just had an urge to start tapping like this, and I wasn't even aware that that was a thing, but it was great. I mean, I was having all this stuff and I couldn't sit down and go through the whole thing. And I just started doing it on my fingertips, and it was like, oh, that works just as well. It's,
Absolutely.
it's amazing.
Yeah. There are some points that I think are probably more powerful than others, but anything works. Well, if as I say, that the best way to do it is do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I find these tender points, the ones under the collarbones, sometimes I will hit those and I can literally, my body moves, it's so powerful for me. Yeah. So if somebody wanted to work with you or find out more about the kind of money coaching work you do, how would they get in touch with you?
Either my Facebook page or I've got a website as well, tamsinyoung.com.
Okay.
My Facebook page or Prosperity Goddess, or if they just Google my name, Tamsin Young, in Facebook. They can do either one-on-one coaching with me. I do a community circle and tapping session.
Okay.
And as I say, those are once a month. And I'm starting a new group program next month in May. It's a 12-week program, and it combines the inner and the outer work. So it's the second round that I'm doing of it. It's mindful money immersion.
Okay.
And we alternate doing sacred circles with tapping sessions, along with the alternate week is like coaching, Q&A type sessions that you can come along with any questions that you might have on any of the information we've done. So it's a case of working with practices, things that aren't going to take all day, or I've got to spend 24 hours in meditation. What are quick tools that you can use to get yourself into a high vibe and keep yourself in that way? What are ways that I can easily, like with tapping, it's my favorite tool, of clearing any of the fears that come up for how I need to move forward? And what are some of the things that I can do to better understand my money? Because at the end of the day, I want people to be able to feel comfortable looking at their money, and if they're in a business, to be able to look at their figures and go, well, what does it mean? How can I change this? I'm not making as much money as I feel I should. And then they may be having turnover of, say, 200,000, and they're only getting $20,000 worth of profit at the end of the day, and going, well, what's happening? Right. Okay, well, maybe they're only making 5,000 turnover. Right. How can we increase it? So it's looking at it. What does it mean? What changes can you make? Do you have a limit to how much money you think that you can earn? So it's all those questions. So it's practical stuff, but it's using those energetic tools and the tapping to help clear you and move you forward.
Yeah. And I can say from personal experience, you're gifted at doing, like I said, both of the practical and the energetic things, but also just a very gentle guidance. I never felt like you were like dictating what I needed to do or telling me what I was doing was right or wrong, but just kind of asking insightful questions and getting to the bottom of like, how am I holding myself back? Not that there's necessarily a right way to do any of it, but like, what's my particular challenge?
Yeah. And that is one of my big things, is that, yes, obviously I could say to you, this is what you must do.
Right.
That's coming from me and my story and what suits me. I want people to, there is a framework to work within, and you need to discover what you need to put into that framework to support you. And what supports you this year may not be what supports you next year. You may grow and you may change things. So it's not about being stuck. This is how it's going to be from now on. You have to come to the realization. So I'm there to hold that space for you while you experiment and you learn and you grow and you develop from there. As I say, I don't want to be that one to say, boom, 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 boom. So it's not a cookie cutter course. I don't have everything set down in stone as to what I'm going to cover or how I'm going to cover it.
Right.
I have the framework, and depending on the people who come through at the time, it evolves with those people.
Yeah, and I love that too. You're very intuitive, and I think really taking people where they are, in their specific issues. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. This has been really helpful, and I hope that you will use this in your business too, if you want to, let people understand more about tapping. I don't know if you encounter the same kind of resistance I do, where people think, what the hell is tapping? I'm not going to do that, but it's so powerful. It's like, you just want people to understand.
Yeah. No,
Well, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Teddy.
And